AITA for telling my fiancé. I don't want his best man coming to our wedding after what he did at my birthday dinner. Hey everyone, I'm back to share an update, and I honestly wasn't expecting the overwhelming support I received from my first post. The amount of people who took the time to comment, give advice, and share their own stories really blew me away. I wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who reached out. Your words honestly gave me the clarity and strength I needed to finally stand my ground. So here's what happened next. A couple of days after my original post, I sat down with my fiancé to have a serious conversation. I needed him to understand that this wasn't just about the one joke Kyle made at my birthday dinner. It was about something much deeper. I started by telling him that I wasn't changing my mind about Kyle being involved in our wedding. My fiancé knew there was tension with Kyle, but I don't think he fully grasped the depth of the situation until I explained it again. I calmly told him that I didn't feel respected by Kyle and that this wasn't an isolated incident. Kyle's behavior had been building up over time, and this particular joke just tipped me over the edge. At first, my fiancé didn't say much. He just sat there quietly listening. I could see him processing it. I think for the first time, he really understood how serious I was. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to defend Kyle, and that made me feel heard. I could tell he was thinking things through, and eventually, he agreed that this was more than just one bad joke. It was about the fact that Kyle had never really treated me with respect in the first place. And that, in my opinion, was a much bigger issue. The conversation felt like a breakthrough moment. My fiancé wasn't dismissing my feelings or trying to downplay them. That's when I realized how important it was to have this conversation, and that I was doing the right thing by standing my ground. The next day, Kyle sent me a text. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting anything genuine. He texted something along the lines of, "Sorry if you were sensitive about the joke the other night. Wasn't trying to ruin your birthday lol." As soon as I read it, I showed it to my fiancé, hoping he'd see just how dismissive Kyle was being. My fiancé let out a heavy sigh after reading it. He looked at me and said, "That's just how he talks." I could feel my blood start to boil again, but I took a deep breath and replied calmly, "Maybe then he can talk like that from his home, because he's not coming to our wedding." The second those words left my mouth, it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I was no longer willing to let Kyle's disrespect slide just because he was the best man. My fiancé didn't react immediately, but after a few seconds he said, "I get it. I'm not happy about it, but if it really makes you uncomfortable, then Kyle won't be there." I can't explain the relief I felt hearing him say that. It wasn't an easy decision for him, but he was finally prioritizing my feelings over the expectations that came with the best man role. He sent a text to Kyle explaining that he wouldn't be part of the wedding, and let me tell you, Kyle did not take it well. Of course, he threw a fit. The second he found out, I received a long, angry text from him, accusing me of being controlling and ruining our friendship. I was honestly kind of taken aback at how dramatic he was being. I knew Kyle wasn't thrilled about the decision, but I didn't expect the full meltdown. Then, to my surprise, Kyle's girlfriend reached out to me. Her message was totally unexpected, but in a good way. She said, "I'm honestly glad he's not going because he's been a nightmare about your wedding ever since you got engaged." She even mentioned how Kyle had been complaining about every little thing related to our wedding plans, and how he couldn't seem to let go of the fact that he wasn't in charge of everything. Hearing that from her felt like validation. It wasn't just me. Kyle really had been a problem for a while. After reading that message, I realized I had dodged a huge bullet by keeping him off the guest list. I started to feel even more sure that I had made the right decision. Not only would having him at the wedding make me uncomfortable, but he was clearly not someone who cared about my boundaries or the fact that this was our special day. Now about the wedding itself, it's still on. I won't lie, there's been some tension. I know my fiancé isn't 100% thrilled about the decision to cut Kyle out, but he's been nothing but supportive of me. The reality is that our wedding should be a celebration, and I shouldn't have to feel anxious about a toxic person being there. I'm not saying I want to start a war with Kyle, but this is our wedding, and it needs to be about us, not about appeasing people who don't show respect. I've had to let go of the guilt that comes with standing up for myself. It's been tough to not feel like I'm being too controlling, as Kyle suggested, but I've come to realize that standing up for my peace of mind is not controlling. It's protecting myself from unnecessary stress. And it's not just about me anymore. It's about creating a space where my fiancé and I can celebrate without worrying about toxic energy. Looking back on everything that's happened, I'm glad I had the strength to say something. I'm not going to let anyone walk all over me, and that includes people close to my fiancé, even if it means having difficult conversations. So, for anyone who feels like they're being walked over in their relationship, my advice is, stand your ground. It's okay to say no, and it's okay to set boundaries, even if those boundaries upset people. I'm grateful that my fiancé was willing to hear me out and put our relationship first, even though it wasn't easy for him. I truly believe that if we can work through this together, we'll come out stronger as a couple. So, to everyone who supported me, thank you. You helped me gain the confidence I needed to take control of my own happiness. At the end of the day, it's our wedding, and we've got one less toxic guest to worry about.